and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Hard Lens Media with Kit. That's 7 years ago. I've had stuff going on for the last year, but it seems like a victory day today. So, Indy, great to see you again. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. It's been too long. So I'm just happy to be on stream with you. We're going to cover some stories.
Mm-hmm.
You got to change Kit's name to yours or people are going to get really confused on there.
You know what? I'm going to be Kit Cabello.
I love it.
If people want to be confused, I think that's fine. It's been a little bit.
That'll mess them up good.
Oh, yeah. So, man, it has been a long time since I have run board with anything. This is ridiculous. Okay.
So, our next segment of the day, according to Kit, since he sent me the rundown today, this is going to be an interesting story. What I was talking about with regard to Kamala Harris and America being brainwashed, which is how are we allowing this to happen? Because Case Study QB, who we love, shout out to Case Study QB. They're an Indie Media Award honoree as well. You can go to indiemediaawards.substack.com. You can see all the honorees, all their links, all their bios, everything. So Case Study QB pulled this thing about, is it even constitutional for what the Democrats are about to do to put a candidate on the ballot? Which, again, I just could not believe that America's just going along with, we're just going to pull this guy out and put her in, and nobody has anything to say about it except for the donors in the party. And it's basically what the Beck lawsuit of 2016 had proven, that the party could go into a smoke-filled room in the back of a hall, choose their candidate, and there's nothing anybody can do.
And that's what just happened. Here's the other thing that gets me. So I remember when we covered this, because for those of you that don't know, we started the entire channel after the 2016 election. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing that gets me, because I know I've been watching the show in the background and I've had a lot of thoughts on this. So first I want to just put this out there because I think it's important to remember. Joe Biden dropped out of the election because he was forced, all that stuff. We know that. But the reason he dropped out is because he had a disastrous debate. The Democrats literally are like, what do we do? It's a good thing we didn't have a primary, because then we might have someone we could pick as a backup, but we decided to not do that. We decided to literally create the independent candidacy of Kennedy. We pushed so hard. And then on top of that, they're like, okay, your point, coronation. What do we do? Well, who do we put in? Well, it'll save us money if we don't have to refund all the campaign stuff. And Kamala raised $300 million in 24 hours, which was more than they had in vault. But they picked her effectively because of accounting issues, because it was the same campaign. But here's the thing that gets me. Biden drops out because he does a terrible debate performance. So what do the Democrats do? They pick the only other person in the last 8 years that ran for the Democrats that also dropped out because of debate performance issues. They literally picked the same person from the previous cycle. Now, I know we're going to get into this video with Trump, but then on top of all of this, they're picking the person that's literally the mirror image of. So we have this honeymoon phase that's going on right now. They're going to, like you said earlier, they're going to keep every 2 weeks trying to do something. I actually think Trump is being smart with the way he's being dumb right now. I think that if it's the plan I think it is, which would make sense for how he thinks, he knows that from his point of view, he sees that he went too hard on Biden and then he dropped out. He doesn't want to dump his cards on Kamala until she's locked in as the nominee, because if they pick someone else, he might actually be in trouble. But if he just does really stupid things like right now, like making what he is, they're going to focus. It's going to make the Democrats focus in one direction, and he gets to hold his ammo. Because if you notice, he's not doing any debates until after she's nominated. So,
yeah, no, there's that for sure. Well, and I think that's a smart move, because look, I've been saying that until I saw this narrative management happen, even after they anointed her, I was saying that anything could happen at that convention, even though they want it to be a scripted pageant the entire time. I mean, theoretically, they could have gone there to pick a candidate, or somebody could have gone there with an agenda of, I'm going to make sure that Kamala Harris doesn't emerge here as the candidate. But they seem to have gotten everybody in line, like every single soldier, like I've never really seen the Democrats do before. Like they've never really quite gotten in line like this that I can remember.
the problem is that they built themselves the worst possible scenario. They thought, we just push Biden, it'll work, we'll be fine. We can hide we just give him his focus pills. He just has to get through these debates, and as long as he can do that, we'll be okay. And it didn't work. And because they didn't want to have, the reason they didn't have a primary is they didn't want him on stage debating, because they were hiding.
Well, not only that, they also didn't see my thought is they never expected that he was going to be the candidate in the first place. And they knew that there was no way Harris would have made it through an open primary. So therefore, go through the ruse, make everybody vote for him, and then install his VP, who would have been his natural successor afterwards, and use that as the excuse for, well, that's why we didn't have to run her through a primary. She was going to be on the ticket anyway, and he was probably going to have to step down because of his mental faculties. Yeah. This is like the anyway argument. Well, this was a fait accompli. No.
I actually don't think that's. I think it's worse for them than that. I think they were legitimately convinced that. I mean, they went through the entire pandemic doing this. He's literally been not in charge for years. Why wouldn't they think they could get away with it? And I think the giveaway for me, at least, is Kamala raised a lot of money, but she doesn't have policy positions. If they were planning this for years, there's no shot that they would not have policy positions on our website. I genuinely think that they dropped the ball just because they're so inept at what they do. Here, let's pull up this video right here. We got. Let's get.
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, so why don't you introduce this? What is this about?
This is about. Yeah, this is all about the Trump and Musk press conference, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that was great. By the way, I stumbled upon that because I didn't know that was happening until I saw it. I was blown away. It's just like the fact that happened, and the fact it got so many views, and also the fact that everyone that had a job that was competitionally against X at this point was very upset, saying all the same things together in friendly harmony. Anyway, let's go.
Muted. You're muted.
Oh.
It's muted.
Is it muted?
Yeah.
Can everyone hear this? Okay, let me figure out what I'm doing. This is probably just... Let me share this again with sound. This is the joy of audio.
Yeah, I mean, Judd Legume over at Popular Info actually was talking about how it was really just the most expensive campaign ad in history. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see if that's right.
But the fact that you can be
better,
votes, lose in the primary system, and that you can then be picked to run for president, it seems to me actually.
This is what I'm saying. This is the real argument that he's waiting for, because as soon as everything happens, there's going to be a huge amount of kerfuffle. Let's say the DNC. We already know it's going to happen. We know it's going to be crazy. Trump is literally just going to run on. This is someone who's going to put you in jail, goes after political opponents, lied to you about Biden, and was kingly picked.
Unconstitutional.
Yep. So, Senator, when you were Attorney General in Missouri, you filed election-related lawsuits, so you know the law here. What exactly in this case would you say would be unconstitutional?
Well, I think the main point is it's completely undemocratic.
That's different than being unconstitutional. That's different than being unconstitutional. I'm sorry.
By the way, I always love when CNN or MSN. By the way, CNN recently written off as junk by whoever their holding company is. I just love that they're again. Tell me that they would ever extend this level of charity to Trump. Oh, it's not unconstitutional. I mean, it's not illegal. It's not unconstitutional. Just a bad look.
Right. Well, right. Just anti-democratic isn't really just unconstitutional.
Yeah. All right.
Do you think there's anything that's unconstitutional?
Right, but I don't have to look more closely at that. But I think they probably, with their super delegates, they've kind of rigged this system before when they were trying to thwart Bernie Sanders. This is really nothing new for the Democrat Party to sort of avoid the will of their own folks who voted. Nobody voted for Kamala Harris. And by the way, when she ran and
by the way, I want to let everyone know I'm going to throw my name into the hat at the DNC convention. I had the same number of votes as Kamala. I think I should be able to join in.
In 2020, I don't even think she got like 6% of the vote. Now, all of a sudden, she is, the second coming, and the mainstream media is sort of doing this coronation, and they'll reach its apex next week at their convention. But when that's all said and done and this honeymoon period is over, the American people are going to be left with a choice. Are they better off now than they were 4 years ago? And Kamala Harris has her fingerprints all over the destruction they've had, whether it's the southern border or inflation. So I do think it's odd. It's strange, honestly, how they got to this point. Right before the debate, they were saying his mental acuity was great. Then all of a sudden they dumped him. So, it is what it is. We have the matchup, and I still feel
do you feel that it would be grounds for a lawsuit if she were to win the election in November?
I don't know about that. I think honestly, our focus is just to make sure we win at the ballot box. But anybody with a brain who's observing what happened understands.
Would you rule out?
There was a coup in the sense that Joe Biden.
Would you rule it out? Would you rule out a lawsuit if Trump loses in November?
That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is avoiding the will of tens of millions of voters, which is exactly what the Democrats did. They all voted for Joe Biden. Nobody voted for Kamala Harris. And so now they're going to roll into this convention and install her as the nominee because his poll numbers were bad. So
they're making it so easy for Republicans.
Democrats have tried to jail their political opponents. They've tried to censor Americans. They're trying to convert 10 million people into illegal immigrants into voters. Now they've installed someone who didn't get any votes. That's the real threat to democracy, John. And
so here's the thing that we're dealing with right now. This is the issue that this is all dealing with is that it's like they've turbo boned themselves in so many different ways to get to this moment.
Turbo boned, I love it.
I don't know how else to put it. So what have they been running on the last 8 years ever since Trump got elected? Where the Democratic Party were about, we don't want kings, we don't want dictators, we're for the American people. Now we're in a situation where the Democrats are coronating a president like a king or a queen, and there's no one's voted in the primary. They're picking a leader that has, again, the only other person to drop out of an election because of a debate performance. They're going to lock her in because they have no choice. Who else are they going to pick? Who else? And I think Kit said this after the assassination attempt. Who else wants to go this round against Trump? All the people that actually might be, would want to run for president. You're talking like our governor, like J.B. Pritzker, Newsom, all these other people. They're all sitting there going, we're going to wait 4 years because I'm not stupid. I'm not going to throw my shot in with like 3 months left. Kamala is the sacrificial lamb. They have no position. They have no way to deal with anything. They have no idea what to do. They're freaking out. And they didn't plan this. They literally thought that, again, they've been lying to us and telling a very specific story. All sides are telling their very specific story for such a long period of time. They literally just thought they could get away with having a president that's just not there. And everyone would just, like, the media would go along with it. Remember, before that debate, Kit was called a bigot, 1,000 different types of bigotry by people for saying the obvious, that Joe Biden wasn't qualified.
Yep.
And it's like,
oh, just wait. Wait. Now they put the ultimate person. Like, if you criticize her, then you're obviously a racist misogynist. And I set this up weeks ago.
Yeah, this is why they're so turbo boned. It's like the same thing with with like the pandemic and the medication that you could take. I'm not even sure I can say the name of the medication with like Joe Rogan and everything. This is now suing. They've put themselves in a spot where everything that they said they care about is we need democracy, we need will of the people, we are not a country of kings and generals. We need to protect like abortion rights and all this stuff. And what have they done? They've lost everything during their tenure. And it's because they were lying about who was in charge. Like every single talking point that they've built.
But they're saving democracy, Trump. Daniel, they're here to save democracy.
It's so hard to keep saying that when no one votes for you. And it's like, that's what I'm saying, that this is now a super target-rich environment. So Trump right now, I think, is intentionally being stupid. Because if there's one thing that he's good at, like two really good things, and that's self-marketing and understanding momentum. That's what he's really good at doing. And he knows they're in the honeymoon phase. Let everyone latch on. He's waiting till they can't pull out of Kamala. Because if he goes after her now with the deck that he does have.
Oh, phrasing.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're in a spot where they know that it's about to go bad, but they're just trying to keep this train going. But Kamala's going to do okay. But it's, again, the second that the debate happens. Anyway, we got another video.
I said it's about respecting constitutional boundaries. I'm fairly confident that everybody from Mike Pence to Bernie Sanders would respect constitutional boundaries. And if Mike Pence were president or Bernie Sanders were president, I'd worry much less than if Donald Trump were president, because, again, Madisonian democracy, checks and balances as separation of powers, that rounds off the sharp edges. We could survive 4 years of somebody who's very conservative or very liberal. Our problem here is someone who just doesn't respect constitutional boundaries and brags about being authoritarian to his supporters. And you know, the truth is, I agree with David. There are a lot of people who think that this is like Clinton versus Dole in 1996, but there are quite a few Republicans I've talked to that like the authoritarian streak in Donald Trump. They like the strongman approach.
Oh my God.
And again, this is coming from a guy who was a Republican congressman.
Who filleted Trump. He filleted Trump in 2016. They were like his buddy.
Remember, not only that, he was in consideration to be Trump's VP. Remember all the way back?
Oh, can you imagine?